Okay, welcome everyone to the Multimedia SIG for what is this, August 14th, 2023. I am your fill-in host today. Kevin's out shooting his caterpillars and everything, so he asked me to come in and set up. I got here at 9 o'clock to make sure things were set up right. Obviously, I didn't have someone to test it until Grace logged on.
You're back.
Sorry, had to take a short break.
We thought you got beamed up. We're all good and everything. So we're recording now. Do you have anything to show today, Grace?
I don't. No.
Okay.
Shot lots of footage of my games, but I haven't done anything with them yet.
All right. Well, we don't have anything here either. No one had any videos and everything. So I did load on one thing or queued up one thing to show. This is a new program or new offering from Google Earth that you have to sign on to.
Okay.
It's about an 8-minute video. It's just showing what this new product is. You have to contact them to be accepted, or you just can't log on and do it. You have to send them an email for them to say, okay, we're going to let you do this. And they ask if you're using it, for business or personal or different things like that.
And there's cost.
Pardon me?
Is there cost?
No.
They just want to know who you are.
Yep. It's just like everything else, trying to keep track of us, know what we're doing.
Absolutely.
And everything. So let me see if I can.
Hello, and welcome to the Getting Started tutorial for Earth Studio. I'm John, and I'm going to be taking you through just a basic overview of the tool, how to find your way around, make your first animation, and render your project. So let's get started. When you first get to Earth Studio, you'll have the option to either make a blank project or open an existing one. There's more options under these menus, but we're going to ignore those for now and just create a new blank project. We'll give our project a name, in this case, Getting Started, and we'll have options to adjust our dimensions, duration, and frame rate. We're going to leave those all the same right now and just hit Start. And this is Earth Studio. You'll see that the interface is split into 3 main areas. We have the viewport in the center. This is our main way of controlling the globe, and also a live preview of our final animation. Below the viewport, we have our editor. The editor is split into 2 parts, the attribute list on the left and the timeline on the right. The attribute list contains a list of every element that can be animated on the globe. By default, you'll see that we have the camera position and camera rotation attributes visible. You'll see their name, their current value, and a keyframe button. The timeline has the frames of our animation all laid out on top, and a playhead to mark our current active frame. Finally, we have the top bar. This contains our playback controls, search, and options to save a snapshot of our current view or render our animation. So to get started, I'm going to position the globe to where I want it to be on my first frame. Now I can quick jump to a location by using the search bar right here, and I'm going to search for Tokyo, Japan. You'll see my view is updated, and I chose Tokyo because it has really nice 3D imagery. So now let's frame our first shot. We can move the Earth around by clicking and dragging, right-click and drag up and down to zoom in and out, or use the scroll wheel on your mouse. If you hold the Alt button while dragging, it will orbit your camera around the center of your view. So let's use these controls to frame our shot just the way we want. And I'm trying to get a nice flyover of this area of Tokyo. So to start, I think I'll frame my shot right like this. And when I'm satisfied with how everything looks, I will come down here and click the Keyframe All button. And what that will do is it'll save all of the values of my attributes here to the current frame. Now that these keyframes are set, if I move the camera around, you'll see that the keyframe turns yellow. And what this means is that my current view does not match the value of the current keyframe. If I move the playhead off the keyframe, it'll reset and snap back to the saved location. So keeping that in mind, let's make our second keyframe to make our animation. We can drag our playhead to the last frame, and now we can reposition our camera. And I'll do something like this. And here you'll see that all of these keyframes are yellow, meaning that I haven't saved these values to a keyframe yet. So I will click the keyframe all button again to save those values. And just like that, if I press Command and the left arrow key to jump to the first frame and press spacebar, I can preview my very first animation, which is a beautiful flyover of Tokyo. So if I want to make changes to this, there's a few things I can do. I could jump to the last frame here and drag around the globe like we just did earlier. But I don't want to do that, so let's reset. I can also come here and let's say on this first frame, my altitude is 986 meters. Let's say I'm looking for a more helicopter style shot where the altitude doesn't change. So I can come over here, look at this altitude, and I can click and drag left and right to scrub it and change its value down. And what this will do will actually change the value of the keyframe without me needing to press the keyframe button again. So I can do that, and then I will move my view to compensate for the changes so my shot is still framed correctly. I'll keyframe those changes again, and I'll play back again, and this is more like it. This definitely has that kind of sped up helicopter flyover feel. So I'm pretty happy with this, and I think it's time to render it out so I can view it outside of Earth Studio. To do that, I'll go up to the render button right here. And now we're at our render settings page. You can see we can change our file name. By default, it's set to the same as our project. We have some basic settings here. We also have the number of frames that we can render. So if, for instance, we only want to render the first 180 frames, we could do that here. And we will see that our preview to the left will update. This is a great way to check that your crop is correct and that the right number of frames are being rendered in the final. We'll switch that back to all frames. We can resize our animation. And then we have our attribution. So Earth Studio Imagery must include attribution to both Google and Google's data providers. By default, we include that as a watermark in the bottom right corner of the screen. You can change the location of that watermark using the menu right here. Just be sure that your usage follows the official attribution guidelines, which I'll post in the YouTube video right here. So when everything's all set, we can hit start. And Earth Studio will go on and step through each frame of our render. The first one will take the longest as it's rendering all of the 3D for the first time. And it saves these images to our local file system in the browser. So this means that if you were to quit out of Chrome, your render would be paused until you revisited Earth Studio again, and then you would have an option to recover. It also means that if you were to have another tab open, the render would pause because there might be some issues when the Earth Studio renderer is not the main focus of your Chrome window. So basically, this will go through and render all the frames. It doesn't take too long, depending on the length of your file. So we will come back and have a fully rendered project. All right, and here's the final product. After the render was done, it downloaded as a zip file to my downloads directory, and I just ran it through After Effects to turn it from an image sequence into a film, and that's what you're seeing right here. So that's it for this Getting Started tutorial for Earth Studio. We've barely scratched the surface of what's possible in the program, so look forward to tutorials in the future covering things like easing, camera target, multi-view, and lots more. And be sure to check out our documentation in the meanwhile. So, until next time, bye.
This looks like it would be a wonderful beginning to a series of photos and videos that you want to show of an area that you visited in the world.
Mm-hmm.
can tie almost, do they give you these visions of that particular area, or are you getting those separately? Like this, one of the city here now.
That was just on Google Earth.
That was provided by
Yes,
us.
yes.
Alright,
From
so
their
they have a
satellite.
number of them in different areas, if I wanted to go.
Well,
south.
that was his selection, but you can go anywhere on Google Earth
Yeah.
and
Oh,
pick
yeah.
it. So, I mean, I thought it was kind of cool and everything, especially if there's places that you can't take your drone to
Yeah.
film. They frowned upon it in Egypt there.
Really?
Yes,
Really?
yeah. And,
You just downright ban it.
Yeah.
or if you're,
I actually took a picture of a sign that said no drones.
yes,
Ah.
and we're seeing more and more of that places that we go. No drones and everything. National parks are not technically allowed to fly drones, things like that. So I don't know. I just thought that, especially for those of us that do travel log type videos and everything, that's an option to be able to show an overall, view. And there's a lot of different settings. Now, he said he was saving it in a zip file.
Yeah,
Would,
it's
Well-
just a compressed file.
Yeah, it's just to save space.
okay, it wasn't.
The only problem I have is that attribution. I mean, you always have that ugly
You're gonna have
Google
Ooh, yeah,
thing on there.
yeah.
Once you've got the file, then they're not, you can use it in any one of your videos. It's not like they're gonna force you to use theirs.
Well, the problem is that when you sign up for it, there may be some issues with commercial use, and you saw that part. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Obviously, they want to know what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I just checked off for private use
Sure.
and everything. It took a couple days before I got the okay back from them.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the national parks now, if you're doing anything having to do with commercial, anything that's used commercially, it's virtually impossible to get a permit. They've made it's terrible. It's all because of lawsuits, and I've talked to guys that they tried to get, permission and just never came through.
Mhm.
So Todd,
Yeah,
question.
that's right.
Was the video smooth on your end? Cause it was real jerky on. I suspect that was Zoom.
It was it was smooth here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's I find the same thing when I'm at home on Zoom and we're having our meetings. It's really jerky. But we talked about that a little bit. I think those of you who said you had Verizon didn't seem to have the jerkiness. I'm on Cox.
We're on Cox too.
It's-
I would think Cox, unless you have fiber, which I don't think they have in this area, I would think Cox's would be faster than Verizon. Because Verizon's.
Does anyone here have Verizon? So how does when you're doing your Zoom at home, how does it seem? Does it
Never
play
see
back?
any hesitation.
Yeah.
I never do either.
Yeah. So
But I'm on Grammy, just terrible DSL. But it works great. It's. And Cox does have fiber in this area in very few locations. Very selected. And if you're
And I'm
lucky
on
enough,
Comcast. Lucky me.
but if you're lucky enough in Green Valley to be in a Cox area that has fiber, it's fabulous. But most places, they don't have it.
So okay. Thinking back when Brian and Susan were showing us from Google Earth, and they were able to identify the spots and track a road that they went through, and it was like a flyover. How is that different? I mean, it's obviously different, and I don't think they had to have that kind of permission, but were any of you around when they were doing that?
So Grace, what led me to that was I was trying to do what Brian and Susan did, because I have done that before. But for some reason, I was not able to accomplish that, and it kind of defaulted me over to this new Google Earth Studio. So,
So maybe they dumped that utility.
they may have dumped it because I wrote down directions when I first did it, and I've used it several times, and I spent hours sitting there on my laptop trying to, recreate this path. It was for this Alaska trip that my kids took, and I was not able to do it. So I don't know if they had updated or changed things, which is very possible.
I've used it, but not for a long time. So maybe they dumped it.
But then this Google Earth Studio came up, and I thought that kind of fits our group and everything, because you're actually making a video there as opposed to taking it and cutting it and putting it in, to another video timeline or something. Not that you wouldn't have to. I mean, once you save that, you just bring that in as a movie file or MP4 or something into your.
You can always mask out the Google Earth.
You could.
Want to.
Yes, you could.
Drop it in. Yeah.
As long as
Not
you're
legally, but
right. As long as you're not showing it commercially, or I don't know what would happen on YouTube if you
Yeah,
did something like that. It might get.
might kick it out.
Yeah.
There's probably something in the metadata that's going to tell somebody what's there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's buried in there.
It's just with YouTube, I mean, even when you post public, you have to have so many followers and stuff before it ever becomes commercial. So, I mean, I guess that's a question.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's people that do things from the get-go that are commercial.
Yeah.
I don't know about how you have to have so many people following you before you can go.
Well, you're talking about monetization.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a whole different ballpark.
I did actually get a notice on one of the videos that I did. The one I did on Karchner Caverns has had close to 1,000 views, and so they said something about monetizing it.
They'll send you 12 cents.
Yeah, right. A penny a month. Yeah.
Well, one thing I know about YouTube is they will enforce copyright on music.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, they do.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, we've had
But not always. I had my owl video. I used a Mark Knopfler cut that I had downloaded from an album of his. I didn't get it off of Apple. It was one that I had off of my CD.
I don't know.
And they didn't
how
kick it
How
out.
they figure it out, whether they do pattern matching or there's metadata.
Somebody said anything by the Rolling Stones gets automatically.
Oh, yeah, it's
kicked out.
out.
Yeah, they never upload any of that stuff.
well now when I did the
Can't get no satisfaction.
That's it.
when
So, yeah.
I talked to Kevin about it ahead of time when I did the little video I did here a month or two ago on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I mean, I didn't play whole songs, but I had songs from Beatles, from Elvis Presley, and they let go.
It was just snippets though.
Well-
The whole song probably. But
Not a whole song, but maybe 15, 20 seconds. I mean, you knew what the song was, especially
Sure.
when I did that one little clip on the because they have a special on the Beatles right now, and they had a video that they were showing on the rooftop session.
Right.
And so I think I had that clip for 20, 30 seconds, and they're playing, and Kevin said, well, let's see what happens and everything.
It's hit and miss. It's
Yeah.
their algorithms are different.
No, I tried to use the Beatles song, I think it was Yellow Submarine, for a scuba video that I did. And that got, I mean,
They kicked it right
like
out.
within a couple minutes,
Huh.
it got sent. And they're like, no, this is copyrighted and everything. So
Well,
I don't know
yeah.
if they let segments, might let little segments of copyrighted songs on, but
I
definitely.
think there's a provision in the fair use doctrine that you can use snippets, but not. And how much that is, I don't know.
There, it is,
So-
that's actually not law. That's just, it's sort of common law with fair use. And you're right, it's the brevity of it.
Well, I mean,
Well-
I know the copyright laws are statutory. I don't know whether they're specific enough to say how long a snippet.
Well, the copyright laws, copyright on music is like 3 bars. But fair use is a totally different area, not of the law, but of common use.
So I remember I showed the video I did of Tombstone sometime back, and I had been hesitant to put that one on YouTube. So when I did, I had used the song pretty much in entirety. And it came back and it flagged it as copyright, but the owner has given permission to use it. And it stated that right on it, that it did flag it as copyrighted, but that I had permission to use it. And I had that happen on several of my songs where I had used more than a snippet. I had used quite a bit, and they flagged it and said I could use it, and it hasn't been taken down. But
Yeah,
it
that's
might be
happened to other
old.
people too. Grace, other people have had that same experience, but why that is, I don't know.
I don't know, maybe how old, how long ago the music was from, I don't know. But I mean, you can go watch it. That's on my website and my YouTube channel. But that I was happy to see that they let it through. Let's put it that way.
You know, it may be the preferences set by the provider of the music, the owner.
Could be.
Could be, or whether it's monetized or not. I
Right.
mean, if you're making money from it,
Yeah, and I don't have any way to, yeah, and it was just, I don't know that it was, I put it on as public. But it was not, I was not monetizing it, obviously, yeah.
You know, which, by the way, another way, if you just wanted to share it with a few friends, you could say it's private and only the people who have the link have it, and then I've gotten copyrighted material permitted because I said it was private.
So if you do it private, then there's, they usually don't flag it? Because I've never.
Well, after they flag it, you say it's private, then they say, okay, and the deal is only people who you've sent the link to can see it.
Right,
People
right.
can't find it in a search or anything like that.
So
so
you
they
use
can
copyrighted
go to
material.
YouTube and watch it.
Yeah,
But they have to have the link. So you're saying that if you have it privatized, then it's probably going to get through.
or at least that's happened with me.
Interesting.
So if you make it private, that I can watch it, can I do something so that Daryl can watch it?
I've never tried that scenario, and I don't know how they would treat that. I mean, I suppose you could pass him the link, and since he has the link, he could watch it. I guess the assumption is that no matter how much you distribute it, it's not going to be massive, so.
Yeah,
It
if
doesn't
once it gets more than 1,000 hits or whatever it is, then they'll say, uh-oh, you can monetize it, we're gonna cut you off.
That maybe, I've never had something.
That's where you get the 12 cents.
That's right.
I've never
12 cents, that's right.
Do not collect 12 cents, do not pass go.
Yeah.
Well, that's the big war right now with these writers and actors strike.
Yeah.
Is residuals. That's the same thing.
Yeah.
Because
Because,
monetization is exactly the same thing that they're striking and I mean, it's a war.
yeah, I think the issue is that there's a new way of distributing it that hadn't been covered in past contracts, and that's. What
They tried in the last one, but they didn't get it through. And now, what the studios want to do is they want virtual actors.
Yep.
So they want to pay somebody for a day's work, scan them, scan their body, scan their clothes, do all kinds of things, and then use them in backgrounds or foregrounds forever. Well, based on that one day, and that's what the union, after SAG is just going nuts over.
So how are they gonna ever come to terms.
Well, sooner or later, somebody's gonna say we're losing too much money this way and they're gonna deal, but so far they haven't gotten hungry enough and the studios haven't lost enough money.
Well, the studios, there's a rumor going around that one of these big executives, and it's a guy at Warner Brothers, said, you know, we're gonna starve them out until they lose their apartments. We're gonna we're hanging in here on this until they're all just destitute. Now, that's not the major players who make, you know, $20 million a movie or whatever. But for the
It'll take a long time to starve them out.
oh yeah, well, they'll just drop out of the business, you know. But all these guys, I think there are 188,000 people in SAG-AFTRA, something like that. And at any one time, it's less than 12% are employed.
Wow.
It may even be less than that, but it's not a business that you would get into you know, unless you strike it rich, you know, you become a biggie. You just, it's not a good business move to be a starving actor.
So what do they do with, you know, programs like late night shows?
They're off the air.
They're off the air right now.
Reruns.
Yeah, but I mean, how long?
It just shows you how the people who are the performers, who are, you know, the supposedly comedians who are on those shows, how stupid they are. They can't even write their own stuff. I mean, seriously.
Now, if they wrote their own stuff, could they do a live broadcast in it? I mean, if Jimmy Fallon actually put together his own.
No, because he's a member of AFTRA.
Oh, okay. So he's on.
He'd be
So he's
breaking
part of the strike.
across
Yeah,
the
I
line.
mean, that's what happened was, I was a member of AFTRA briefly once, but they have now combined, you know, SAG was a separate union and AFTRA, American Federation of Radio and Television Artists, was another, and then they got together. Well, then they really got, because they got all the newscasters, they got all these people in the major markets are all on strike. They're just not gone.
But but the newscasters are still doing their thing.
Some of them, and then some of all the, like Tucson is non-union. So wouldn't affect anybody here.
But like CNN and Fox. And
Some of them have
MSNBC,
walked. Yep. Now, there are.
some of them have been fired too. but-
And some of them have been fired, but the major guys are under what are called personal service contracts, and it supersedes the union. So who are the major network anchors? They're under personal service contracts, and they could lose everything if they want. So they're not really covered by the union. It's just people that are lower on the.
So you see this ending anytime soon?
I don't know, but I think that virtual reality is the big issue.
And AI?
Well, also residuals from streaming services, because in the last contract, which was three or 4 years ago, streaming wasn't as big as it is today, and so many of these guys aren't making a dime off streaming. They don't make any money. And also the residual thing sounds good, except for minor players, it's nothing. I mean, I remember casting a couple guys in a movie, in a Clint Eastwood movie, and the last time I talked to one of them, he got like 7 cents. He was getting 7 cents every like 3 months or something. So it's
Hardly pays the cash.
the check is more expensive than the.
Yeah.
He could pay for the music he used in his video.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't pay for anything with those. So it sounds like it's, and for the big guys, it's, big bucks. That only started in the 70s, early 80s. So it hasn't been forever. So all these films that you see on all the movie channels or whatever, there's no residual. I mean, those actors have never gotten another dime. And they're mostly dead anyway, so yeah, that doesn't matter. Yeah.
Speaking of copyright, people have been following the discussion about Disney, and the fact that Mickey Mouse, they're saying Mickey Mouse will go away because it's going to go into the public domain.
It's gone away,
Or it's
but
gone-
only the version of Steamboat Willie.
Oh, okay.
So you could today go get a still of Mickey in Steamboat Willie, draw him, run him in your movies, do whatever you want. But the second you get an updated Mickey, then that's a different issue.
Oh, okay. So
So,
everybody different.
because that
copyright.
Steamboat Willie's 1920s,
Oh, okay.
is 1928 or something like that.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that.
Well, Steamboat Willie was made as a silent cartoon. And right as sound was coming in, so Walt went to New York, was the only place you could do sound in those days. And carried the discs back on the train where he had the soundtrack done in New York. And the reason that he was Mickey's voice was that he was in New York and they didn't have anybody, so he became Mickey.
Oh, he was Mickey's voice.
For a long time, yeah. But he carried the phonograph records, which is how sound was done then, along with the film back from New York to Hollywood, and then that was, sounds strange, but it was a huge hit. I mean, it's what started the studio.
So while
We'll see
we're,
you next week.
Yeah, sorry, guys. We didn't-
No, that's okay.
No,
It's our own fault.
Your fault.
We didn't contribute anything.
Yeah.
so while we're on the topic of music. I know on the website, we have resources under multimedia, and I've
Yes.
looked through some of them. And they all seem to charge some amount of money, whether it's $10 or $20 or $50. And I was wondering what people are doing to. Number one, how do you find music that you like that's suitable without going through millions of?
I find that one of the most challenging parts of doing any of these videos is finding music
That you can use.
that you can use and music that you like.
Yeah.
Of course, YouTube Studio has a lot of free stuff on it. That you can
I
use,
use-
but
yeah.
it's
I use,
limited.
yeah. I use Pixabay.
You pay for
is
that?
No, that's not it. It's Purple Planet. Is that it?
That's a fitness group there.
Huh?
That's
Uh,
a fitness.
Yeah, no, it's purple something or other.
Arts and, people.
Yeah,
Greg, is
and,
it Purple Planet? Is that what you're saying?
which
Purple-
one?
Purple Planet?
That might be it, with a dash in it.
I don't know.
I would have to, I will see if I can find it.
Okay.
On the club's multimedia website, there's a free music archive, but basically you have to give attribution.
Actually, I looked at it and it looked like free wasn't really free. I don't know if they've changed it since it was first put there, but it looked like some of them were subscriptions where you pay like $10 a month or something like that and have to sign up for a year. Others, it was anywhere from $12 to $50 per track.
Another place that I have gone and looked for music was the Library of Congress. And they have music that you can use that's in the public domain. So like when I did the one video about the air show and used the Air Force anthem and everything, I went on there and it was there.
Pretty limited though. I've used their stuff and
It's limited.
yeah.
It depends on what you're looking for. The one that I've been using lately, now I pay what I want for what I want. And it's called Bandcamp. And I don't know if everything on there is like it because it's basically independent artists, but I've been using there's these two brothers out of Indiana, and basically what they do is they make music for video games. So there's no audio or no one singing or anything, and that's what I used for my Egypt video. And they have a ton of stuff out there. So when I did the Egypt video, I bought that one particular album for $10. And I can use it as much as I want.
You just found it by chance, or did you do a search?
Well, what I had been doing was I was listening to the History of Egypt podcast, and the announcer said, "Oh, for anyone that's interested, I use these two brothers and everything, if you ever want to listen to music, so I just dialed into it. I sent them an email saying, hey, I just do videos for fun and everything, would you give me permission? And I got an immediate response, they said, absolutely, use whatever you want.
And you
everything.
didn't pay.
You could pay nothing if you don't want to pay anything, but I thought, these guys put together this whole album, I'll send them $10,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
But
That's fair.
some of the other albums, because they've got themes for all different types. I've just picked out a song, send them $2.
Yeah, based
So-
on, based on what Kevin uses and everything, cause I get tired of the deal about having to do credits at the end. And, you know, especially for public, or like our nonprofits that we're supporting, things like that. And so Kevin uses, story blocks.
Yeah, it's the same one I use. It's great.
It's a pay service.
It's a pay
So
service.
what I did was I got it for 1 month for $60, unlimited downloads. And you just spend the month going, you know, just downloading music and everything.
Well, that's not their idea, but you could do that, yeah.
Yeah. You know, you can do a year-long subscription for like, I think $12 a month or something like that. I mean, it's pretty reasonable. The lowest one, you're limited as to how many downloads you can do.
Yeah, the lowest one is 5.
Yeah. And you can only
$5
do
a
like,
month?
No, 5 downloads.
So 5
And
downloads.
it's,
yeah,
I think it's $12 a month.
I think so. Yeah. So
I
that's the
can't
reason I went
remember.
with
I've got it by.
So they allow you 5 downloads per month.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, their systems are. I use 2 of them, Pond 5, which is the most expensive music service, and they're on Discovery Channel and they're all over the place, but it's great stuff. And then Storyblocks. But again, it's all pay. Pond 5, stay away from. Because
Okay.
your mailbox was, because they sell everything, video clips and all kinds of stuff. It's really high quality. But as an example, a really good piece of music is like $130. But you can use it forever.
Yeah, and you do commercial stuff and everything.
Yeah,
for,
well,
us
not
amateurs,
so
just
much anymore.
doing fun stuff and
Yeah,
everything.
I mean, I just want to do a travel log and show it to my friends.
Right.
You want to get free stuff?
I
Absolutely.
don't want to spend $100. I mean, like Todd, I wouldn't mind spending $10.
Yeah, well, check them out because they actually have several albums that are just Egypt and everything. And so, like I said, I used several of their songs for each segment I did, you know, when I did the transportation.
That's a great
tours and everything. And I'm like, and I like it because you don't have to, you know, you're not searching there for, you know, just instrumentals and everything, because that's all they do.
Did you find it, Grace?
Yeah, yeah. And it is Purple Planet with a hyphen, purple-planet.com. And it is royalty free. And I've used it quite a bit. They do want credit.
Royalty free doesn't mean free.
No, it is free. It is
It
free.
is free. Okay.
It says free downloads, right? And it's the music is written by a couple of guys, and they just ask that you credit them. That's it. And I have downloaded bunches of stuff from them. They have them organized in genre, so you can kind of get a feel for what will fit your video. And I mean, that's just one source, but it is free. I have never paid a dime for any of it. Now, I suppose I could, you know, give them a little something, but I haven't. Yeah. Anyway, that was the one I used.
Well, there are a million commercials, but understand royalty free doesn't mean free.
Right.
If they say
Right.
royalty free, that just means you don't pay royalties forever.
Right. But you
Right.
still pay a fee for it.
Right.
The first
Yeah,
time.
this one, yeah, and this one there is no fee. It is definitely free downloads, and We will,
They make their
Yeah.
money, or how do they pay for their
I-
service?
I'm not sure on that one.
I mean, it might be advertising or,
We support our, by using, who kindly, oh, you can license it, their music also. They have different levels so that you can license their stuff and, use for free, for business. They have a number of different categories, but I just go to use it for free personally. Anyway, that was the one I used. I think I got that one idea from Arlene.
thanks, Grace.
Is Arlene at home now?
Yeah, she's home and will be for
A
several
broken
weeks.
leg.
Yes.
Gee.
Yeah, they had to put a steel rod in her leg.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah, she slipped and fell. You weren't, I don't think you were on yet. Her and Jim were on a Alaskan cruise and she slipped and fell in the shower and broke her leg.
oh.
man. Those showers on a rocking boat. Right.
By the way, does anybody know where the expression break a leg comes from?
Yeah, my husband does, I'm sure, but I can't repeat it what
So
it is.
what I read is, if you break a leg, you wind up in a cast. And so people auditioning wind up in the cast.
Hopefully.
Maybe.
All right, well, anyone else have anything? No?
Maybe I should just talk to you directly, but I was wondering if you had any information about when using DaVinci, what your preferences or settings ought to be before you start a project. I kind of, last time I did one, I just kind of took whatever was in there and didn't
Yeah, yeah.
pay any attention.
I mean, the thing about Da Vinci and Kevin actually came over to my house because I was having some just challenges with the Fusion page. And so even though Kevin doesn't do Da Vinci,
You don't have to use it, you know.
yes.
But Fusion is there's kind of special effects, isn't it?
Yeah, it's when you're piecing all these things together. In fact, about halfway through it, Kevin, he just pushed back the chair and he's like, "This is really complicated. Do you really want to do this?" He said, "Just go, you can go and buy these things where they'll do all these special effects." He says, "I don't do anything myself. I just buy the special effects and just bring them and drop them in and it's done."
Well, what did you want to do?
Oh, I was a video that I'm working on with my grandchildren was I just wanted to put some animation. I wanted to put some things in. Grandson's playing at a soccer game. The one son's in a soapbox derby. Now I was shooting stills and everything. So I wanted to do something. I did one. I got them all out into a field. You're familiar with a game called Spud, where I give each of you a number, and then there's a ghost number, and you throw the ball up in the air, and you call the number, whoever number it is. You have to come grab the ball. Everyone has to stop, and then you get 3 steps to go and try to hit them with the ball. And after you get SPUD, then you're out.
You confused me already.
But I shot it with my drone. And everything. So, they're all in a group and everything. So I wanted to get something like when they throw the ball up in the air, when the ball goes up, they're just, explode into like a firework or something like that. So I was I'm still trying to do something like that, but it's on the back burner right now with the other things I've got. But Kevin was just like, he said, this is really complicated. He said, I probably only use he said, you probably only are using 2 or 3% of Da Vinci.
Oh, yeah.
Of everything probably that they
Everybody
have.
is. I mean, even the big boys. The other thing I hate to even mention this, but there's a program, the reason I mention it is free, called Blender. And Blender does effects. And very, very effectively, the learning curve is pretty steep. But it is pretty good. And you can do animation, you could do exactly what you're talking about, exploding the ball, that kind of stuff. But and Blender is absolutely free to download.
And do you use that with DaVinci or is that instead of?
No, it's a separate program. And what you do is you'd build it up, import things, build up whatever you want, and then export it and then put it onto your timeline. Which is what, I mean, Maya 3D, all these real high-end ones that are used by Hollywood, that's what they do too. They will end up editing in DaVinci now, used to be Adobe and Premiere, you know what, but they will do all this stuff in these separate programs, export them as files, PNG files or whatever, and then put them into their final editor. Or use After Effects, which is what I use, which is, again, the learning curve is like Mount Everest.
Well,
Arlene uses After Effects.
does she?
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things, at least about DaVinci, and this might be for all the editing programs, when you Google something you want to do,
It's there.
well, it's there, but there's like a dozen different ways to do the same thing. I mean, all these guys, so it's just trying to find, I finally found one for the map, so to move the train across the country and do stuff like that. I found one that actually turned out to be pretty simple compared to these ones that I was trying to do in Fusion, where you've got all these building blocks. You know, this one's tagging this one has to go first, and this one has to do this, and it was like, oh my
You
god.
chain all the nodes together.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah, the sequencing of the nodes
Yeah.
is pretty challenging.
Yeah, I saw that and I had no idea which.
Well, I have done several tutorials on Fusion, and I'm still and like Kevin and I, we were sitting there, so we were watching what the guy was saying, and then we minimize that. We'd go to DaVinci, and we do that step, and we go back and forth, and still not getting it to work. I'm like, you know, these guys are leaving something out. You know,
they're South Korean kids who don't speak English.
yeah. Well, the two that I basically use, Casey Ferris is one that I kind of like. He gets a little corny at times, but he seems to, at least I understand what he's saying most of the time. And then there's a Jason Yurkowski or something like that, who he's into it pretty deep, and I like his tutorials. Though he is like, you know, he's got to make a living and everything, so he's kind of hooked up with Motion Array right now, and so he's kind of pushing that a little bit more than, hey, this is how you put all these nodes together. You know, Motion Array has all these special effects. Just download their package, and you know, you'll be able to do all these things. And that's like what Kevin was saying. He's like, you really want to get this deep into this? You know, just buy a couple of these packages, and they're gonna for what we do. I mean, you know, we're hobbyists. I mean, you know, we want to do a good job and everything, but we're not Hollywood.
It's not a career.
Right. It's not a career. Not a career. Though I'd have to say, if this stuff was around when I was younger, I'd been very interested in looking at something like this. As a
You
career.
give up selling milk?
Well, the one thing about selling milk, and this is what my dad would always say to me, he said, no matter what's happening, people have to eat.
That's right.
You know, so no matter what happens to the economy, when all those steel mills closed in Pittsburgh and all those guys, thousands and thousands of guys lost their jobs and everything, they still eat.
And they still drank milk.
Yes. Yeah. No, the milk business has taken a big hit too, with all these other things. I mean, personally, I just totally off subject, but the fact that they call it almond milk or oat milk, I'm like, no, milk comes from a mammal. I'm sorry. It can't come from, it's, you know, called a juice or something else.
You can't milk an almond tree?
Yeah, they have all kinds of milks.
Yes.
Weird.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But anyhow.
You're just old fashioned.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Suck on my ways. Give me milk, give me my milk, give me my ice cream, give me my butter.
I don't think they've adulterated ice cream yet, have they?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Have they?
they played around with it. When I went to ice cream school, I mean, in the labs, we did all kind of trying to make ice cream out of all kind of products and everything.
Well, isn't there a soy ice cream?
Oh, yeah, you can get soy ice cream, palm ice cream. I mean, all those different things. It doesn't taste like ice cream. I'm sorry. It just does not taste, there's nothing to me that tastes like ice cream made with cream.
Yeah, if you get a chance to go to Penn State,
That's where I went.
go to the creamery.
Yeah, that's where I went.
Yeah.
That's where I studied it. And everything, but yeah, no. But. All right, folks. Well, I guess that's a
Thank you,
wrap.
Todd.
Thank you. Sorry again that we,
Thanks for your time.
good conversation.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for getting me on board. And I
So,
guess
yeah.
I'm next time.
Grace is going to be hosting the next time because Kevin's tied up and I will be in flight to Turkey.
And it'll be just Zoom, right?
It'll be soon.
Nobody in the studio there to set things up.
That's next week.
2 weeks.
No, 28.
What's next week? Nothing.
It's the off week. We just want to come around and sit and talk.